There aren't that many great options on the waiver wire at quarterback this week, but I think that these two guys may help fill out the back end of your fantasy roster. First off, I like adding Justin Fields for his running ability. Fields had an impressive 32-point fantasy game last week, throwing for 312 yards and a touchdown, while adding 55 yards on the ground along with two rushing TDs. He's currently available in 68% of Yahoo leagues, and his legs give him a chance to put up some big games here and there. Next up, I suggested him last week, and I'm suggesting him again this week, and that man is Andy Dalton. Dalton has looked like the best version of himself in his first two games as Carolina's starting quarterback. He's averaged 20 points per game, and his upcoming schedule is rather light. He faces the vaunted Chicago Bears defense next week, but his next two games are rather soft after that. He gets Atlanta and Washington, who are both bottom 10 against opposing fantasy quarterbacks this season. He's 86% available in Yahoo leagues, so pick him up this week so I don't have to keep suggesting him.
Here are the wide receivers you need to target this week off the fancy waiver wire. First up, Wandale Robinson, New York Giants. He has 26 targets. Again, 26 targets through 4 games, and he's averaging 10 points a game. Next, we have Cortland Sutton, Denver Broncos. This guy is the clear number one in Denver, averages 12 points over the last 2 games, and it's done against a couple of tough defenses. Next, we have Dontavian Wicks, Green Bay Packers. With Watson being injured, he has a chance to be in the starting 3 wide receiver and 2 wide receiver sets, and you saw what he did this past week. Finally, Jerry Judy, Cleveland Browns. He's reached double digits points in the last 3 of his 4 games, so maybe he's finally starting to tap into that potential he always had.
These are my waiver wire pickups at the running back position for week 5. Starting off, I have Rico Dowdle. This is the last call on Dowdle, who stepped up again this week for the Cowboys, scoring a touchdown, and he continued to emerge as the lead back in Dallas. Dowdle runs hard and should keep getting the majority of the backfield touches. He's a good player that you can start through the bye weeks as we move forward. Next, I have another guy I called out last week, Bucky Irving. Irving is still available in about half of Yahoo leagues. He just looks like the better back in Tampa Bay right now. He's more efficient with his touches, and his hard-nosed running style is certainly endearing him to his teammates. I think he'll continue to emerge in this backfield and be one of the big rookie breakout successes in fantasy football this season. Finally, I have Kareem Hunt. He looks like the lead back in Kansas City. He touched the ball 16 times this week, and it's if he's getting that kind of volume from week to week, he needs to be rostered in all formats, especially as we move through the bye weeks and have to overcome injuries on our rosters.
As you already know, we're going through the week 4 waiver wire pickups, and I've got your tight ends locked and loaded. First off, we're looking at Cade Otton of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Listen, we've seen the talent. We know he's got it. He put up some productivity last year, and we're looking to keep it rolling. I know Baker Mayfield has plenty of mouths to feed with Evans and Godwin, obviously both ballers. But hey, Baker spreads the love. Look for Otton to get a little more productivity rolling. Last 2 weeks, he's averaged 8.5 targets, 6.5 catches, and 50 yards per game. We're also looking at Green Bay Packers tight end Tucker Kraft. That's right. I know Josh is excited. He's been really excited about this guy since last season, and he has been out snapping Luke Musgrave this year, and I will expect that trend to continue. Listen, week 4, he put up 9 targets, 53 yards, 1 touchdown. So, I know it's just 1 week sample size to draw from, but I expect him to continue to roll. Last week I told you guys Tyler Conklin of the New York Jets. If he's still available, go scoop him up. I know he had a bad week 4, so he probably is still available or very ready, about to be dropped by somebody who picked him up last week. He did still have 4 catches, so in PPR formats with a tight end premium, that is somebody you are looking to scoop up. Another tight end in a PPR format with a tight end premium is Rams tight end Colby Parkinson. 3 of his first 4 games, he's had 5 targets and at least 3 catches. So go and pick them up. Like I said, especially if you're in a tight end premium league, tight ends cannot be consistent enough. So we got to get the ones that are a little bit consistent sometimes. That's what I got for you guys.
Here we are, a quarter of the way through the fantasy football season, and so right now it's a good time to pause and reflect on what we got right and what we got really wrong. And while it's hard to believe, I actually did manage to make a few good calls this year. Among my good calls was Derrick Henry. Henry is a monster and a throwback of an NFL player. He is the last running back who's going to reach 10,000 yards rushing for the foreseeable future, and he's going to surpass 100 career touchdowns with his next score. I loved the idea of Henry teaming up in the same backfield with Lamar Jackson, and so far it's worked out perfectly for the Ravens. This is a very strong team, and it's going to be a nightmare stopping this tandem for opposing defenses as the season wears on and people get tired and banged up. I was also right about Kenneth Walker being a freak of nature. He is averaging 27 points per game over his 2 healthy starts this year, and despite him sharing the backfield with the talented Zach Charbonnet, Walker is still a touchdown machine who is going to win many games for his fantasy managers. Walker is a gift that will keep on giving and throughout the 2024 season. Moving on to what I was wrong about, I'll start with Tank Dell. I love Tank Dell due to his shiftiness and ability to make big plays. Sure, there were concerns about his target share going down due to Stephon Diggs' arrival in H-Town, but I threw caution to the wind and have watched Dell's targets dry up as a result of Diggs and Collins' outstanding starts to the season. I still like Dell as a player in real life, but his fantasy prospects are looking rather limited moving forward this year. And finally, I was wrong about the emergence of Zay Flowers as a premier wide receiver in his second NFL season. I really thought he was going to take a huge step and become a star by forging a connection with Lamar Jackson that produced huge results. So far, that hasn't happened. And with the Ravens running the ball as well as they are right now, it might not happen this season.
Here are a few good and bad players I suggested for you to add in fantasy football. First, Chris Godwin. He's wide receiver number 6, and he's player number 14 overall. For the rest of the season, he has a fairly soft schedule, so if you can trade for him, definitely do it. Next, Kyler Murray. People were kind of down on him because, he had that rumor about the way he was with playing video games and couldn't play that well after, say, November. But his soft schedule, especially during the fantasy playoffs, the bad. Zamir White. I had such high hopes for him. He's running back number 56 and player number 249 overall. Sorry, Zamir. Finally, Ezekiel Elliott. He's running back number 45 and player number 206 overall. Tough schedule coming up. And remember, Cowboy fans, Jerry Jones says he's just as good as Derrick Henry. He did show what I thought he'd do the first week, which was get about 40 yards and a touchdown, but nope. Bye bye, Zeke.
Some players I've been right about so far in fantasy football are Jaden Daniels. I was talking about this guy a lot before the draft to the point where I took some heat on our TikTok for praising him so much. I went out and targeted him in my dynasty leagues and redraft leagues ahead of ADP, and so far it is paying off. He's currently the QB1 overall in fantasy and looks like the franchise quarterback that the Commanders have so desperately been looking for. I'm excited to see what else he can accomplish in the league. Next, I have Zach Moss. The volume's been there for Moss as he's done well with it. He currently sits as the running back 15 overall in fantasy football, and he's also producing in the receiving game as well. If he keeps it up, he has a good chance to finish inside the top 10 at the running back position this season, which would be great considering his preseason ADP. Some guys I got wrong are Dalton Kincaid. I thought he was going to be the tight end 1 overall, but so far he's only been the 7th best tight end in fantasy football. He hasn't turned out to be the target hog that I thought he would be, as Buffalo's chosen to take a more balanced passing approach, spreading the ball out to a lot of guys. He still could pick it up as the season goes on, and I think he is a good buy low candidate, but as of now, he hasn't delivered like I thought he would. And I have Devontae Adams. He just doesn't seem happy in Las Vegas, and he's currently only the wide receiver 35 overall in half point PPR. I thought he would have a big season with Gardner Minshew, but so far it looks like it's going to be hard for him to crack the top 15 at the position.
As they say, you win some, you lose some, you get some right, you get some wrong. Well, what did I get right? I got 2 Saints players right. We'll start off with Alvin Kamara because obviously he is just crushing it right now. He's the number 1 ranked running back in most formats. Well, he's the number 1 ranked running back, should be in all formats. And he's the number 1 ranked player overall in most formats. And I was really big on him. I was only able to get him in 2 out of my 5 redrafts. Sometimes things don't fall the way they do, but I was really big on Kamara. If you had him, or if you have him, you know exactly what I mean by he is crushing it right now. Listen, he's got a little bit of a tough stretch coming up right now, but he is going to be primed for those fantasy playoffs. He's got a late bye week, heading in to an easy playoff matchup for fantasy football, so expect big things out of him if you make the playoffs with him. The other Saint I locked up in the late rounds in 3 out of my 5 redrafts is Rashid Shaheed. He is the wide receiver number 19 and number 57 overall. I was ecstatic to be able to get him in as many leagues as I did, and he was still available in one league post-draft, and I tried to pick him up after week 1, and somebody had waiver priority over me, so I wasn't able to get him in 4, but 3 out of 5 still pretty good. Things I got wrong. Rashad Bateman of the Ravens. He's wide receiver 60, number 176 overall. I thought he was going to take the next step this year. Wasn't meant to be. I'm also with Josh on the Zamir White bandwagon, and I kind of wish I wasn't. I had him in Dynasty. I thought things were going to go well. I got him in 2 out of my 5 redrafts, and it has just been abysmal. So we're looking elsewhere. One that I got wrong that I think will turn around, Garrett Wilson of the Jets. He was going in late first, early second. The targets are there. I think he turns it around.
Excuse me, sir. Would you like another hot take?
Yeah, definitely. Keep them coming.
Here are some hot takes regarding the MLB playoffs. First, looking at the NL, the Padres and the Brewers, I believe, are the teams that will reach the NL Central, with the Brewers making the World Series for the first time since 1982. That's crazy. Then the Yankees and Astros. Those will be the 2 teams that make it to the ALCS, with the Yankees finally getting some revenge. They'll put their ghosts to bed and beat the Astros. When it's all said and done, I believe the Yankees will beat the Brewers to win their first World Series since 2009. Everyone in Yankee Land will be happy as we continue our quest towards World Series number 30.
Oh, I got some heat for this week's hot take. We're looking at the NFL because, hey, it's NFL season. We're almost a quarter of the way through. We have clear division leaders at this point. Well, guess what? Not all of those division leaders are going to be division leaders come end of the season. Matter of fact, I'm saying 6 of them who are currently leaders of their division right now will not be leaders of their division come the end of the season. I'll take it a step further. All of the NFC teams that are leading their divisions, not going to be leading their divisions at the end of the season. That's the Washington Commanders, the Minnesota Vikings, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Seattle Seahawks. Enjoy it while it lasts because you won't be there at the end. And at least 2 teams from the AFC will not be winning their division. Right now we got the Buffalo Bills, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Houston Texans, and the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs are 4-0. But hey, anything can happen. Take it away, Jacob.
My hot take for the week is that Pete Rose should be a Hall of Famer. Rose passed away on Monday, and with his passing, the world lost the all-time hit leader. Although he gambled on baseball, he never gambled on Reds games, and at some point he should be forgiven by the league for that poor decision. This is a guy who played the game with the heart of a champion and the passion of a child, and it's ridiculous that baseball has kept the all-time hit leader in Rose and its all-time home run leader in Barry Bonds out of the Hall of Fame. Baseball needs to learn how to market its star players, and it could start by honoring the legacy of one of the all-time greats to play the game in Pete Rose. The MLB did a disservice to fans of the game by canceling the final game of the year between the Astros and Guardians due to rain. The implications for this game were huge for Jose Ramirez, who is 1 home run away from being the 8th player in the history of the sport to have a 40 home run and 40 stolen base season. By not playing the game, Ramirez will fall just short of history at 39-41. If it had been Ohtani in need of 1 home run for 50-50 or Judge 1 shy of 70 homers, the MLB would have forced the game to be played. Ramirez, who is a star in his own right, deserved that same treatment. And it's a shame for him and his fans that he doesn't get his opportunity to make history.
Hi everyone, this is Stacy. My hot take this week is the Brewers will continue to be the dark horse of the playoffs. They have shown resiliency in their pitching staff. They have had a wonderful manager this year, first-year manager Pat Murphy, likely manager of the year. who has prepared these players to play the wild card games. Yes, they played hard to try and get to the first game by. However, it didn't happen, and I feel they are set up with Freddie Peralta starting the series against the Mets. Freddie was the opening day starter. He also was the starter after the first game after All-Star break. So I feel like they have a lot of advantages, especially since the Mets went Milwaukee to Atlanta, back to Milwaukee now. So let me know what you think in the comments. Have a great day.
This is a poker hand I played at TCH Austin at 1-2 stakes. In this hand, one player limped, and I raised in the hijack to $15 with ace 10 offsuit. The button, small blind, and limper made the call. The flop came ace 4-5 rainbow. Here action checked to me, and I chose to get tricky and check. I think most of the time I should just come out and bet here and get value from worse aces, but this time I chose to check, and action checks through. The turn comes another 4. The small blind now leads for 35. Action folds to me, and here I think my only choice is to make the call, so I do make the call. The button gets out of the way, and we go to a river, which comes a 10, giving us a better 2 pair than the board. When he checks to me now, I think he has a weak ace almost 100% of the time that just wants to get the showdown value, so I'm going to bet here, but I think I make a sizing mistake and only bet $60. I should have gone 100 to 125, as I don't think he'll ever fold an ace for that price. He does make the call for 60, and we are good versus ace 3. This is another hand I played from the same session. In this hand, the under the gun raised to 15, and I woke up with black kings in middle position and 3-bet to $50. Only the under the gun player made the call, and we go to a flop which comes 10 jack queen with 2 diamonds. He checks, and here I choose to check it back since this is a way ahead, way behind situation, and our hand really doesn't need that much protection. He could have all the sets here, and we are open-ended and not afraid of an ace coming. And what do you know? The turn is at the beautiful ace of spades. We make the nuts, and now he bets pot for 100. Here I quickly debate raising, but choose to just call as I'm in position, and I'm going to just hope for a brick, and that is what we get. It's the 8 of clubs. Now he slows down and checks, and I think here that I have to just go for gold. If he has a set, I don't think he's going to fold, so I jam all in for about $375, and he tanks and tanks and tanks, and finally makes the call with ace 10, and we are good in a big pot for a 1-2 game.
Okay, playing 1-2 at WinStar, and we have 7 deuce of clubs on the cutoff, and we raise to $16. We get 3 people to call, so we go to a flop. Flop is the ace of clubs, the jack of hearts, the 3 of spades. Checks me in flow, so I decide to rep the ace, and I bet $33, and 2 players call, one of them being very tight, so I know to slow down. The turn is the 7 of diamonds. Checks to me, and now knowing that one or both of them have the ace, I decide to check. The river, beautiful, the card we want, it is the 7 of hearts. The tight player from Earn the Gun +1 now bets for 50. The low jack calls. I now raise to 128, and both players call. The ungun +1 slow played, flopping ace jack, and the low jack had ace 9, so we scoop a nice pot. Still playing 1-2 at Windsor, and we look down at 7-4 diamonds from the big blind, and everyone calls. So we call and go to a family pot 9 ways. The flop pick me, come on. The flop comes the 8 of hearts, the 4 of clubs, and the 2 of spades. I check, and surprisingly, it checks through. The turn, we had the 5 of diamonds. Checks to me, now I bet $17. 2 players call, and now the button raises to 70. I think they're trying to buy it. Maybe they have top pair, they'd been loose, but I do go ahead and call, and everyone else folds. The river is the six of hearts. I now check the button who goes all in for $210. I make the call thinking that we're chopping the pot, that we both have a seven, and to my surprise, they had top set with eights, and we scoop a very nice pot. So glad we made kind of that very loose call on the turn.
Soccer hooligans.
This is the Degenerate Gaming Life's added minutes, and we are talking Mauricio Pochettino today because, as we had covered before, he was announced as a United States men's national team head coach, but he was finally unveiled on Friday. So we're going to jump into some tidbits from his unveiling. But really quick, I just want to reiterate that I am a big fan of this signing for the United States men's national team. Mauricio Pochettino is a good coach. I wasn't happy when he was hired at Chelsea two years ago, but that's mainly because Chelsea holds a higher pedigree than the United States men's national team does. So the fact that the USMNT was able to hire a coach of this caliber is absolutely awesome, wonderful, and I can't wait to see how he gets started at the international level of coaching. But some of the tidbits, like I said, we will get into from Friday's unveiling is that Poch plans to get to know the players on more of a personal level. He quoted saying, "The player needs to feel that you care. When the player feels that you care, you can get more out of them." And that is so true. A lot of times coaches come in and they just try to impose their system on players, and players don't respond well, or there's no care what's going outside of the game for them. And the players start to, they go off their own way. So Poch, he knows he's got to get these players on his side. He's got to get to know them because that's when you're going to be able to connect with them more and get the most out of them. He talks about recovering the confidence of players and that there is a good generation of talent here. There is definitely a good generation of talent here. And what we mean by recovering the confidence is because they were on an upward trajectory. 2022 World Cup, they did really well, but they seem to have taken a few steps back, and that is not good for the program. And speaking of World Cup, let's talk the United States women's national team because Pochettino said he wants to draw inspiration from them. He's quoted as saying, "One of the most important things that we can be inspired by is the women's team. We have Emma Hayes, which for me is the best coach in the world, and the women's team in history has won everything." They really have won everything. There has been 9 women's World Cups. They've won 4 of them, took second place once, and took third place 3 times. There was only one time that they didn't finish in the top 3. And as a matter of fact, that was the last World Cup in 2023. So they're obviously on a good trajectory. And this is where the men's team needs to draw inspiration from as an international team. And they should be able to do that. Oh yeah, not to mention, there's been 8 women's Olympics. They've won 5 golds, 1 silver, 1 bronze. So they're absolutely dominant on the international level. And that's what every international committee should aspire to be. Hope you guys have a good week.
Okay, thank you so much for watching to the end. If you haven't yet, please take a moment, hit that like, comment, subscribe. And if you do not know yet, on Saturdays, we are dropping our start sits for the week. So check that out to make sure that you're seeing the players you should be starting and sitting for fantasy football. And at 11 a.m. Central Time, we go live to kind of give you the best updates of what's going on for fantasy football. So check that out. We have our store. Go there, get some DGL merch, and have a great week.